Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to BNC Now. I'm Laverne McGee.
And I'm Anthony Amy. And Laverne, we've reached the middle of the week successfully.
Happy Hump Day. It's Wednesday.
You know, I had no idea that it was hump day. This sounds so awful. Until one of our crew members, Serena, told me, hey, it's hump day. I had no idea. That's the way that this year, the way that this summer has gone. But glad to be here with you and with you. Welcome to BNC Now.
And you know what else you haven't heard in a while, or you probably forgot about? The Russia investigation.
Funny how that happens, right?
It's back in the news again, if you can believe it. Still, we're hearing testimony from Sally Yates, one of the members of the Obama-Biden team, and that is back in the news and so much more. So let's get started. Right now, we want to talk about the latest news regarding the coronavirus. President Trump says he is looking at possibly signing an executive action if no stimulus deal is made by the end of the week on the lapsed unemployment benefits. Vice President Joe Biden, of course running for president, says he is not going to Milwaukee to give his presidential acceptance speech for the Democratic ticket, of course, the Democratic nominee. Welcome back to BNC Now. Well, recently Thompson International recalled all of its onions from all 50 states. The U.S. recall was because of links to a Salmonella Newport outbreak that has a total of 510 people sick from it across both the U.S. and Canada.
And of the infected people, 396 are from the United States alone. Joining us now to discuss this outbreak, the Foodborne Outbreak Response Team lead for the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Laura Giroltowski. Dr. Giroltowski, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, can you start by telling us exactly what Salmonella is and where it comes from?
Sure. Salmonella is a foodborne bacteria. It can be found in environments such as the soil where food's grown, or in food processing facilities and places like that. And people can get sick from eating a food that's contaminated, or with pet foods, or playing with animals that might have salmonella. Those are some of the ways that people can get sick from it.
Dr. Giroltowski, when outbreaks like this occur, are there any steps that businesses can take to help ensure that something like this does not happen again?
Yeah, I think that businesses can watch our website and FDA's website for recall information, and to make sure that they don't sell any of these recalled onions. They should also clean any surfaces that may have come into contact with these onions as well, and just make sure that you throw things away that may have been made with these recalled onions. A lot of products such as deli salads or pizzas or sandwiches that are in grocery stores and restaurants could have been made with these recalled onions. So we just want to make sure that those are all thrown away, and any surfaces that may have touched them have been thoroughly washed.
Is it rare to have a Salmonella outbreak in onions, and especially something like onions? How would you be able to pick one up and know by cutting it or looking at it if it indeed was tainted?
You know, we haven't seen too many multi-state outbreaks that have been linked to onions in the past. And you can't tell if an onion is contaminated with a bacteria just by looking at it. So we really want people to make sure that they're checking their kitchens and checking their refrigerators, and looking for the Thompson label. There's also been a few other brands associated with the recall, so they need to go and check our website or check FDA's website to make sure that they don't have any of these onions. Some of them aren't going to have stickers or labels either, and so if you can't tell where your onion is from and if it's part of the recall, just go ahead and throw it away, and then wash out your vegetable bin or wherever you've been storing those onions, just to be safe and make sure that no one in your household gets sick.
Well, that's certainly interesting, because I think so many of us associate salmonella with other food items such as eggs. So considering that, how do you properly kill salmonella?
Yeah, I know we see salmonella outbreaks linked to a lot of different foods, shelf-stable foods like cereal, peanut butter, eggs, like you mentioned, chicken, and fresh produce items. And so we really want people to pay attention when we have these recalls and have these outbreak investigations. Of course, there are some foods that you can cook to a safe temperature to help kill the bacteria, and those are different cooking temperatures based on what you're making. You know, for a lot of meat products, you can kill bacteria like Salmonella and E. coli by cooking poultry up to 165, and things like that. And of course, you can find all that information on our website. But for produce items such as onions or mangoes or papayas, which are some of the other things that we found salmonella in, you really can't cook those items, and you don't really know when they've been cooked to a proper temperature. You also also tend to cut those onions on a cutting board where you could cross-contaminate when you cut the onions, and some peppers and things like that. So it's really just a good idea if you have any of these recalled onions to go ahead and throw them out.
And real quick before we go, if you do eat this, would you get sick right away? Would you know right away, or does it take a couple days?
Yeah, it usually takes about 6 hours to 6 days for people to develop symptoms of salmonella, which include diarrhea, cramping, sometimes a fever. And so if you do get any of these symptoms, we want people to go ahead and contact their healthcare provider, and report their illness to their health department as well. And if you are a case that's linked to this outbreak, your health department is going to give you a call, and they're going to interview you and ask you questions about what you eat, and that can really help the investigation. We don't know. We know that Thompson onions have been linked to this outbreak, and that includes red, white, yellow, and even sweet varieties of onions. But the investigation is still ongoing to determine if other onions are also part of the outbreak. So those interviews with case patients are really, really important, and ask you questions about where you've eaten, what restaurants you've gone to, grocery stores you shop at. And so when the health department calls, if you are part of this outbreak, we really need to answer that phone and talk to our health department.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Well, still to come, making money moves. We'll take a look at some of today's closing numbers on Wall Street, as well as which companies had the biggest surge. BNC Now will be right back after this quick break.